On this episode, we speak about the real haters we face. Too often, we see others as a point of rivalry, but by taking a deeper look, we discover the enemy exists in our thought life. Tune in as we gain tips on how to identify quote-unquote haters and tools on overcoming them, right here on LifeClub.
I'm Tashima Jones. Welcome to LifeClub. I genuinely believe personal development unlocks the door to the abundant and wonderful life we all already have. I also believe we must be intentional about seeking out that life in order to find and fulfill it. I am so grateful your journey of discovery has led you all the way here. Let's keep moving forward together. Once again, welcome to LifeClub with me, Tashima Jones. Hello, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in to LifeClub with me, Tashima Jones. I'm so excited to have you tuning in. We are speaking about the real haters. Yes, far too often, we give way too much energy to quote-unquote haters. We tweet about them and throw subs towards them. We talk about them with our friends and family. We cry about what they did and what they said. We even pray about them and sometimes for them. But one hashtag major key I've discovered is that the real haters aren't the people we come across in real life and in the virtual lands of social media. The real haters we face every day exist between our ears. They are our thoughts, paradigm, and perspective. And until one recognizes this, he or she will continue to fight the wrong enemy, never to win the battle. Oh, let's just take a hashtag Selah on that one. So you already know, when we know the definition of a thing, we are better equipped to handling it properly. And we're going to start with the definition of enemy. The root words that make up this word are in, as in not or against, and friend. It is defined as a hostile nation or its armed forces or citizens, especially in a time of war. Again, we are defining enemy, and a thing that harms or weakens something or someone. Now, what are the not so friendly thoughts you ponder on day after day? What are the damaging perspectives you have towards your life, yourself, and the people around you? We have to understand that perspective is so important. It literally shapes how we see things and what we see. If you are looking for trouble, it will surely find you. And the beautiful thing about this is that it's the same truth for joy, peace, and happiness and love. And we should always pursue peace. So the first question is, what are you looking at? Once again, we give too much credit to our hashtag enemies, our hashtag haters, rather. And it's so important for us to understand where that perspective comes from. Now, a lot of us have been groomed for jealousy and for hate and for envy and for strife. Whether you were that young child who grew up being told that, people are jealous of you because of what you have or how you look, or whether you were that person who was rejected because of someone else who was more favored in the eyes of the people around you. Jealousy and hate, they are all paradigms. They are perspectives. They are rooted and grounded in a thought process. And as adults, that paradigm doesn't just automatically shift. So we're going to first start with our self-talk. Remember, we are talking about the real haters. Stop blaming other people for the hot mess that you're in, and stop blaming other people for the things that they may say or do to you, because in all reality, we are all in a relationship with the life force and with ourselves. So the way that I see you is just a reflection of how I see myself. And the same is true the other way around. You have to recognize that you are not in a war with another person. You are in a war that is higher than the things that we see. It's so far outside of our five sensory realm that we live in. And you have to grasp that concept, because once you do, you not only elevate yourself, but you also elevate the life that you experience and even the people that you're experiencing it with. So again, there is no such thing as a human #hater. That energy, those low level vibes, the downers, the negativity, all of the low frequency vibes that we experience from other people is really in between our ears. It has so much to do with our thought life. So we are going to first look at our self-talk. Your self-talk is basically what you are repeating to yourself over and over again, whether with your voice or with your inner voice. It's the story that you are telling yourself, about your relationships, about your finances, about your health, about your living situation. What is that story? What is that narrative that you are constantly feeding off of? Those are the things that you need to target before you go out and try to, shame somebody else or tell somebody else about themselves. You first have to look in the mirror, and you first have to look within your mind and realize the negative energy, the hateful thoughts that you are speaking to yourself and believing about yourself on a daily basis. The interesting thing that I have learned, and I don't know if I learned it the hard way, perhaps I have, but I've learned that when it comes to self-talk, people on the outside of you will co-sign that conversation that you are having within yourself. I speak about, one of the relationships I had where it was like the worst relationship, but it was the best relationship that I've had so far, because it taught me so much about myself, and it manifested the negative energy and the negative thoughts that I was speaking towards myself for years. So to hear somebody else give voice to that, it really was a moment of revelation, and it was a moment where I was able to stand up to myself. The thing about self-talk is you can sometimes easily tuck that away. Oftentimes you can hide the self-talk because it's not always voiced by yourself. And it may come up at different moments and in different conversations. Let's say somebody gives you a compliment and you don't necessarily know how to receive that compliment and take in that compliment. It may come up when you are aiming for, let's say, an opportunity, and you might not get it, and you kind of co-sign that with, oh, I knew, nothing ever works out for me, or I knew this was going to happen, or I knew I should have never got too excited about this idea because this is life. Our self-talk really has to shift. It really has to get to this place where you are telling yourself the story that you want to live in. You're telling yourself the story that you really want to walk through. You're telling yourself the story of this character that you genuinely want to be. And that is so important and so vital for your life, to live this #best life, the life that you truly believe you were destined to live. So, starting there, what are the thoughts of jealousy that you may be telling yourself? What are the hateful thoughts that you may be speaking towards yourself? What is the paradigm that you have towards yourself? Now, the next area that we should really take a dive into is our past experiences. Oftentimes, we start to become what we've been through. We start to take on the clothes of that person, if you will, who has experienced some traumatic events in their lives. We start to we start to become those experiences. We start to become the character, if you will, that is in those experiences versus being the student of those experiences, versus gleaning from those experiences, versus learning from those experiences. Once again, if you are just tuning in, we are speaking about the hashtag real haters. Oftentimes we pin the hate on another human being, and in all actuality and reality, the thoughts that we experience on a daily basis are our true enemies. And the amazingly wonderful, beautiful thing about that truth is that we can shift those thoughts to work for us and not against us. So we spoke a little bit about self-talk, and we got the concept of this story that we are telling ourselves. What is it that you are telling yourself on a regular basis? And we spoke a little bit about our past experiences, and sometimes we become those experiences versus simply being a student of those experiences. To think is to, to think is to ponder. It is to wonder. It is to meditate. It is truly what we are saying to ourselves on a regular basis. Excuse me. I tried to get ready. I tried to drink some tea, drink some orange juice. So excuse me. Yes. So we spoke about self-talk, and we spoke about past experiences. And I wanted to dive a little deeper into bad habits. Remember, the definition of the word enemy is something that weakens another thing or a person. What are the bad habits that you are taking part in to weaken your strength, to weaken the quality of your experiences, to weaken your life? One of the major things that I've realized on this journey of personal development is this concept of responsibility and accountability. And I think too often we do the spiritual practices of imagining and meditating and writing and speaking and naming and claiming, but we don't put in the work that it takes to actually shift our lives, that it takes to actually change our situation for the better. And this is LifeClub. So if your life is good, it can always be better. We truly, truly believe that. So when we speak about our bad habits, there are some things you just gotta let go of. There are some things that you just have to release from your daily activities, because if you continue to do the same thing, you will continue to get the same results. And there is a fine line between that, because consistency is key to getting from one space to another. But we have to be mindful of what we are being consistent in or at. For example, if you want to lose weight, the consistency that you want to take part in is eating right and working out. It is not eating too much and not doing any type of physical exercise. So being mindful of what we consistently do and how those habits are, again, weakening ourselves, weakening our life experiences, and really just weakening our opportunities to be more, to see more, and to do more. Remember, we are speaking about the real haters, and I am happy to be the person to tell you that it is not the people around you, neither is it the man or any other human entity. It is truly how you see yourself, how you see life, and how you conduct yourself throughout this journey we call life. We spoke about self-talk and the things that we are telling ourselves on a regular basis. We spoke about past experiences. A lot of the bad energy, a lot of the strife that we experience comes from our past experiences, where we start to become the traumatic event that we went through, instead of gleaning from it, instead of learning from it, and instead of growing from it. And we also talked about our bad habits, the things that we dip and dabble into that are not fruitful for us. Yes. Once again, the definition of enemy is to essentially be a thing that harms or weakens something or someone. And when you recognize that, you are better equipped to deal with your thought life, to deal with the nightmare that you're telling yourself over and over and over again. And I mentioned that when it comes to our narrative and our self-talk, it's so easy for us to hide that because not everyone hears it. But when other people co-sign to what you already believe about yourself, that's when it starts to rise up and bubble over into this sensory realm that we live in, basically. And when we tap into that reality, when we tap into that truth, we are then better able and better equipped to move on to really live this hashtag best life that exists for each and every one of us. Once again, we give way too much credit and place too much blame on the human beings in our lives, when in all actuality, the real hater, the real enemy that you are dealing with is in the spirit realm. It is in our thought life. It is right between our ears. And if we grasp hold of that reality and of that truth, we can truly be set free from the negative energy, the bad vibes that we tend to feel on a regular basis. Now I wanted to get into some tips and tools on how to actually reject those hateful thoughts, low moods, and bad behaviors that we ourselves have partaken in. I think the hardest thing that we ever face is having enough desire to move forward. You have to understand that the only control that we do have is self-control. And when we gain that self-control, when we take part and eat of that fruit of self-control, our world genuinely changes. And I remember the moment that I decided to take responsibility for myself. And I think sometimes when we say take responsibility and be accountable, it almost has this negative connotation. But when you take responsibility for your inner being and your well-being, that is the sweetest space to ever find yourself in, because then you can actually see change. Remember, we cannot control other people. So if we are waiting for this person to apologize or play nice with us, we may be waiting for a very, very long time. And even when that does come, and if it comes, we will still never gain that satisfaction that we are seeking, because it is truly a satisfaction that is activated from within. So whether you get that apology or not, whether you get the likes that you want or not, you have this superpower called self-control, where you're able to manage your emotions and to manage your thought life. So one of the major keys, one of the major tools that we have in our life kit is desire, is understanding that we have the power of self-control, and then taking that self-control and building up that desire to change and to want more and to see ourselves in a better light and to see our life in a better light. Having that desire to shift your surroundings and shift your perspective is so key, because you can't really have what you don't want. And some of us say that we want a lot of things, but your want should manifest in your actions. If you want something to drink, the manifestation of that action is getting up and actually getting yourself a glass of water, because a lot of us sit in our want. But it's not truly a want if you don't act on it, if you don't move on it, if you don't manifest that work, that energy that it takes to get from where you are to what it is that you want. And let's just take a selah on this truth that change is one thought away. Let's just breathe on that. Change is literally one thought away. And when we go back to this idea of the real hater, of the enemy of our thoughts, of the negative perspectives that we may have, that is the one thing that is stolen, this understanding of how powerful your thought life truly is, of how powerful a thought is. And thoughts are totally free. free 99. So we have to really recognize, we have to shift from, again, that five sensory realm, the things that we can see, taste, touch, hear, smell, all that good stuff, and draw back into what I like to call that sixth sense, called faith, called imagination, called the inner being, and recognizing how powerful that is. Remember, the inner reality creates the outer form. We have to be mindful of this truth. We have to be mindful of this reality. And once we tap into that truth, we can truly see our lives change. Remember, stop giving so much energy to other people who are going through their own stuff. Understand that the way people treat you is just a reflection of how they treat themselves. And the same is true for you. So we can no longer say that this is just who I am. No, this is how you see yourself. Therefore, this is how you are treating everybody else. Because I truly believe that a genuinely happy person is not going to hurt other people and say that it is well and it's okay. Again, we can only give what we have. So if you are giving away negative energy, that is also what you are sitting in on a regular basis. Understand that truth, that the way people treat you is only a reflection of how they're treating themselves on a regular basis. So number one, don't take it personal, like Monica has warned us. And number two, continue to be the peaceful human being that you are, and that spiritual being that you are, and that awakened spiritual being that you are, and continue to give out that love. That's why when people, are in negative relationships and one person is just being super mean and the other person is just being so forgiving and loving, and this person's probably like, yo, why is this person so nice? Or why does this person continue to treat me like this? Even though I have been really whack towards them, it's because that person is genuinely walking in love towards themselves. Therefore, they can extend that love to other people. And when you walk in love and when you are happy and peaceful, it doesn't necessarily mean that you are a doormat for other people, but you do know the value of a soul and a human being. And again, you are only treating that person how you treat yourself. You can love people from a distance, because I truly believe in that. But it all goes to say that the way that we treat other people is a reflection of how we treat ourselves. And that is so important. And again, it starts with this desire. It starts with this craving. It starts with this hunger to want to change, because when you are hungry, you are going to look for something to eat. So that is key. Having this desire to really want to change, to really want to combat the negative, aka haters in our thought life, if that makes any sense. And then next, again, it's this work. It's going from this desire to have a glass of water to actually getting up, going to get the glass, going to get the filter and pouring yourself a glass of water. And we cannot forget to actually drink it. Now, work is activity involving a mental or physical effort in order to achieve a purpose or a result. A lot of us are working and we are not productive at all. We are just working. We are just putting in the mental and the physical effort without seeing any results, without being productive at all. So we have to understand that when we think about the work that it takes to develop as an individual and to become that person that you truly believe you are, it takes work. It takes the activity of your mind and your spirit and your physical body. Taking all of those things, balling it up, and seeking a result. And I truly believe you have to know the result before you achieve it. If you have to know where you're going, you have to know what it is that you are seeking. It's AKA being intentional about the work that you are putting in. Too often we work way too hard for money and not for inner abundance. And that is why we find ourselves broke and broken over and over and over again, because we have not reached this space of internal wealth and abundance. And it takes work. Yes, you can meditate. Yes, you can pray. Yes, you can imagine. Yes, you can write. Yes, you can speak things forward. But ultimately, it takes this combination of your mind, your spirit, your soul, and your body working together for a common goal. It takes all of those things because, again, we are not only spiritual beings, but we are human beings. We are here. We interact in this five sensory realm. So we cannot sit on the couch or sit in our meditative poses and expect for everything to change. So again, it takes desire. And this is all tied into dealing with them hashtag real haters. And I don't really do too many installments because I don't really spend too much time on haters. But I had to let my people know, I had to let my Life Club family know that the real hater that you are dealing with is in between your ears. It is in your mind. It is in your thought life. It is in your paradigm and perspective towards yourself, to life, and to everyone around you. And in order to reject that enemy, to resist that enemy, if you will, you have to have a desire to actually want to do so. And then when you work up that desire enough, it should move you and motivate you to actually put in some work, aka some mental and physical effort. And when you are doing these things, you have to always keep in mind the goal, the result, the mark to which you are heading to. Because if you do not know where you're going, you will not even know when you are there. So yes, put in that work. Again, if you are thirsty, you should have enough desire to get up and go get something to drink. And the same is true about our lives and our inner beings, is to have that rest, to have peace, aka the absence of war, because too many of us are at war with ourselves, and to where we don't even have time to think about other people who we may even have the slightest bit of jealousy or envy or strife towards us. So many people are walking around with a war on the inside of themselves. And in order to combat that, your desire has to become so much more stronger than that narrative of defeat. Once again, in order to reject the hashtag haters, we must have a desire to do so. Then we must be willing to put in the work, the activity of just that mental and that physical effort. And we have to know where it is that we want to go. It's so interesting. I'm going to get a little personal with y'all. It's so interesting because ever since I was a little girl, my heart's desire was to simply be happy and to fully feel like myself. And I believe it was Miles Davis who said it takes a long time to really know your voice, to really learn your voice, to really hear your voice. And I truly believe that I am at that space, that this time where I am my true authentic self. But it took work. It took that desire to experience a new thing, even though at the time the new thing was something I had not tasted as of yet. But in my heart, in my mind, in my spirit, I knew that there was more. And like I said during our 1 minute of meditation, to receive love is so much more about letting go of things than it is obtaining a thing. And I truly believe that all of us are whole. It's not like we're looking for parts of ourselves on the outside world or even in the spirit world. I truly believe what life does is breaks off everything, the muck and the mirror that got on us from those past experiences and those past relationships and those past traumatic events that we have gone through. It's a shedding, if you will, of that negative narrative that we've adopted for years even. So what we have to realize is in order to deal with this paradigm of somebody being against us or somebody not liking us or the world even not being for us. We have to stop putting the blame on the outside world and really look on the inside. And when I say look on the inside, it's not necessarily to point fingers, but it's to deal with the story that you've been believing for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, 60 years. It's really dealing with the things that you tell yourself and believe about yourself on a regular basis. That is the hater that you need to deal with. And it starts with this desire to truly change and allowing that desire to build up so much that you actually move forward and putting in the work, the activity of mental and physical effort put in to reach and achieve a desired result. And like I said, when it came to my moment of letting go and starting to really be intentional about my life and who I am and what I wanted and what I truly believe was mine, it took intentionality and it took work. And it's not the work that we may all be accustomed to. It was truly digging within myself and, more importantly, listening to the life force for the issues that we're dealing with, because oftentimes we don't really know why we feel the way we feel. Sometimes we can't automatically pinpoint it to a person, place, or thing. But the more soul searching that we take part in, and the more we start to be authentic and transparent within ourselves and with the life force, we are better equipped to really dealing with some of the things that we probably don't even realize still affect us. So it's that space of transparency that comes from the work, that comes from the vulnerability of desiring change. And you have to start with yourself. Oftentimes we think we have to go tell somebody else or go cry on somebody else's shoulder about the things that are paining us, when in all actuality, we have to break that off of us within ourselves and allow ourselves to look at ourselves in the mirror and just be truthful and be transparent. Remember, the concept of transparency is being so clear that light can pass through it. If you just looked up the words that we use on a regular basis, you would be amazed at the power in those things. This concept, this word transparency, means to be clear enough for light to pass through it. Too many of us are, what holding things in does is it darkens us and it hardens us. So like the molecules in a solid object are tightly packed together to the point where nothing can get through them. But when you think about a liquid or you think about even gas, those molecules are spread apart, and we have to become without form and void, so to speak. We have to become so transparent that light can actually break through us. And when you realize that we have light on the inside of us that's trying to come out, like scientifically, we really have light on the inside of us. Again, you would truly be amazed at what happens when you start to open up to yourself in a whisper, in something written, just genuinely being okay with being yourself with yourself. You see, I can't even help myself. I always just come to this light and fluffy place that we're talking about haters. But this is me. This is the reality. This is the authenticity. This is the result of the work, to where you can't even focus too long on others. And again, it's not necessarily human beings, but you won't even focus on the negative thoughts when you start to do the soul work and when you start to dig within and become, again, transparent with yourself. There is a freedom, there is a liberty, there is a joy, there is this happiness. The happiness, like I said, that I truly prayed about ever since I was a little girl. If you are just tuning in, this is Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. I'm super excited to always be here with you. We spoke about the hashtag real haters that we deal with. It is not your friend. It is not your family. It is not your job. Neither is it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. It is the story, the paradigm, the perspective, the philosophy you have towards life and yourself. And when you recognize that and you own that as truth, you are better equipped to free yourself from the low frequency vibes. We spoke about what an enemy is, and it is a thing or an event or whatever the case may be. And in this case, it is a thought that harms or weakens something or someone. We spoke about negative self-talk and how we have to shift gears when it comes to that. We spoke about how our past experiences can really put a lot on us that we never signed up for. And last but not least, we spoke about the bad habits that are working against us on a regular basis, the tips and tools that we went over to actually manifest the life that we want to live and to really resist and reject those negative thoughts that we experience on a daily basis is first the desire to want to change. Again, true desire will move you and motivate you to do the work in order to get the thing that you want. And again, that work is mental, that work is spiritual, and that work is physical. The combination of those three efforts put towards a specific goal, purpose, or result will bring you to this space called happy, a space I like to say I live in on a regular basis. Yes. So thank you so much for tuning in. There's never a period. There's always like a pause. Remember those three dots. That sometimes it's hard for me to pronounce that word. But yes, thank you so much for tuning in to Life Club with me, Tashima Jones. Remember, you can find TJM life courses and all that good stuff at tashimajones.com. And once again, all of my social media and contact information can be found there. Until next time, let the haters go. Focus on your desire and put in that work, that effort to get to a result, the result that you want. That best life that you have. And yes, remember your greatness. Talk soon.
I am Tashima Jones, and you've been listening to Life Club. Thank you for tuning in.